Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Public Works Finance Committee regular meeting for August 12th, 2019. First order of business today is approval of the July 22nd Public Works Finance meeting minutes, and they look fine to me. What do you think,
I was
Arthur?
here. They look good to me,
Yeah,
too.
yeah. So we'll go ahead and approve those. Next thing on the agenda is the disbursement report. Sarah Banks will tell us how much money we spent and why.
That's right. Okay, so looking at the expenditure report for July 31st, 2019, our major expenditures totaled $2,871,193.76. Our largest expenditure, as usual, was payroll, $1,120,060. We did actually have some fairly significant contractual payments for our capital outlay. One for slurry seal, the payment was $188,260.93. Chip seal payment for $383,233.09, and then our concrete slabs and pathways for Lola Clyde. That amount was $101,263.35. We also purchased in streets a 2019 vac all, and that was $298,677.60.
So we almost surpassed payroll and
Almost in capital expenditures.
okay, well, all worthy causes.
Yep, nothing unexpected.
All right,
We said yes to all that stuff, so why should we be surprised?
there you go. Okay.
Sir,
Thank
that's
you.
the end of your tenure here this afternoon, then?
That's the end of it.
Okay, thank you very much for.
Sarah?
Thank you.
Okay, item number 3 on today's agenda is Beer Wine Garden Vandal Town Block Party permit. Amanda's going to present that. Welcome, Amanda.
Hi. So this typically goes to administrative committee, but seeing as how we had very little for that committee, I'm here in front of Public Works and Finance Committee to talk about the beer and wine garden for Vandal Town Block Party. So we have a draft resolution prepared, which updates the time of the event, location, date. This year's Vandal Town Block Party is scheduled for Thursday, September 5th. And it's going to be from 5 to 9 with the beer and wine garden hosted by Moscow Brewing Company. And as some of you are aware, Vandal Town Block Party is in partnership with the City of Moscow, University of Idaho, and Moscow Chamber of Commerce to welcome the students back to our vibrant community and give them a taste of downtown and what we have to offer. And so that's all I've got.
The terms of the resolution are very similar as that they've been in the past. The police chief has been advised, fire chief, all the people who need to. So as you know, it requires a separate council resolution for any alcohol licensing to be done in the public right-of-way of downtown.
And it'll be the same general parameters as last time in the Friendship Square area.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we should pass this on, recommend approval, and send it on.
Heck, yes.
Looks like
I
a
agree.
consent agenda item to me, sir.
Perfect, thank you. We will make
Thank
that
you, Amanda.
happen.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Amanda.
Okay, item number 4 today is the 6th Street Bridge repair and grant funding request. And Elisa's going to tell us what's going on there. And apparently Nate's sitting in for Bill.
Sitting in for Bill.
Yeah. Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon, Lisa.
As you may recall, we had a flash flood in Moscow on April 9th. And the following day, on April 10th, the mayor did declare a local disaster emergency. And following that, on June 12th, 2019, President Trump also approved a major disaster declaration for several counties in Idaho, including Latah County. During that time, we had damages throughout the city, but a majority of the damages were along Mountain View Road in the corridor from F Street down to White Avenue. One of the major areas that received damage is the 6th Street Bridge. However, the Sixth Street Bridge, because of its classification as a collector on a federal aid route, did not qualify for FEMA funding. And so at that point, we started to look at what other resources we had available and identified the Idaho Community Development Post-Disaster Grant. And so Nate's going to kind of go over what the damages were to the bridge, and then we'll talk about the option for the funding and the grant request.
Okay. So as Elisa mentioned, there was pretty significant flood damage, the majority of it occurring on the upstream side here. So there was damage to the culverts, the head wall, the face there, and there was a pretty substantial undermining of the road that you can see here. So the road base was all washed out and the asphalt collapsed over top of it. Now, since, to preserve safety, our crews have gone back in, replaced a portion of the road base, and put a temporary asphalt pavement over top, and they're working with Idaho Transportation Department to get some jersey barrier out there to back up this guardrail, which was pretty substantially undermined. And then on the downstream side, it fared a little better, but there was still undermining head wall damage, less culvert damage there, but also damage to the roadway.
After we found out that we would not be able to receive FEMA funding for assistance, we did analysis in-house of what we anticipated the costs would be to repair the bridge, and then staff felt it was best that we reach out to a local consulting firm, JUB, to have them also take a look at it and have their structural engineers research it. And we asked for them to prepare a analysis for us and what it would cost to for them to design the repairs, or to see if it's really, of a cost benefit to possibly build a new bridge. I then spoke to Idaho Department of Commerce and asked them if we were to, would we be eligible for their funding if we did a replacement and or a repair. And I told them that if we did the replacement and or repair, we would still want to look at adding ADA accessible sidewalk on both sides of the bridge, because that community is now developed as a small neighborhood medical area. We have a church there. We also have a group home. And so it's a public transit route, so it's an area that, is growing, has increased traffic, and they said that, yes, they would also join in on either a repair or replacement. However, their maximum funding is $100,000 for a post-disaster assistance. In-house, based upon the costs that the city incurred on the day of the flood event and for a few days thereafter, and then with additional repairs and maintenance, as you've seen, or repairs on Mountain View, we had by Joseph, and Mountain View we had a manhole that was washed out around it, and additional damages to the grate that's there by the playfields on Joseph and Mountain View. So we had some additional costs too in-house. Some have been completely repaired at this point, others have not. There were damages to our parks and to Paradise Path in a few areas. So overall, with the cost of the sandbagging and the recovery efforts, I was able to determine that we had about $35,000 in expenses. Some of those expenses were covered or will be covered by an insurance claim that was submitted through iCrimp, and they agreed to combine it under one claim instead of having a deductible of $2,500 on several claims that may not be eligible at that point. We had some things where the wastewater treatment plant, and water reclamation.
Trees and
Why, 10 years trained one way and 2 the other. I'm never going to be able to figure it out. Anyhow, they had damages there, and the refrigerator in the lab was damaged. So some things like that. That was like $1,100. And so combined, those claims were somewhere around $12,000, and the claim was approved. I am not sure yet that we've received funding back on the allocation for each specific item. So The number of what we'll actually submit to FEMA will be based upon what we were reimbursed for under insurance, and then also what the expenses were to complete the rest of the repair work. I'm estimating that to be at a minimum $35,000, but it could possibly be more. So that gives us some additional funding to add to the cost of the bridge. And then we were able in the FY20 budget to identify some additional resources available depending upon the action that the council would like to move forward when we receive the proposals from JUB. We did get a proposal today, however, it hasn't been vetted completely by staff. It had the changes included in it. They are making a recommendation for 3 different options on it. However, Bill is out today and Scott had to leave early, and so they were really the 2 people that needed to review that proposal and vet it. And so we'll leave that for them to do at a later time in the near future. Today, what we're bringing forth to you is a request to move forward with preparing and submitting the grant application to the Idaho Community Development Block Grant Program for the post-disaster assistance of $100,000. We can, once we've dated that application, we can begin incurring expenses. And we have up to 1 year for completion of those from the date of the application. So today we wanted to at least get committee and then following next week council approval to submit that application.
For your edification, Elise has identified the $100,000 CDBG grant as well as about $35,000, give or take, in the FEMA, or excuse me, the ICRIMP and FEMA proceeds that are non-specific, so we can utilize that funding for this as well. We have in the FY20 budget identified $100,000 to be funded through LID construction monies, which is typically for street stuff. So we've proposed that in the FY20 budget. Depending on what, if there are additional costs, then we will look to our other capital accumulations to try and do that. There's a chance one of the, the alternatives for the bridge, there may be, up to 3 of them. So we won't know what the ultimate price will be until those estimates come in. So as those are developed, we'll bring those forward as they come into us.
Nate, maybe this is a question for you, but one of the alternatives is probably replacement of the bridge with something that's not culverts.
Yes, several of them
Because
are.
that is clearly not up to standard, right? If you were going to build a bridge now, you couldn't do that. It would not meet standards, I'm sure.
And it's not a hydraulic capacity issue, it's a debris issue because of the triple culvert, so it's able to pass the water
Yeah,
flow
but
theoretically.
limbs
but
and
yeah,
things
it
like
becomes
that plug out.
problematic. Yep.
So it wouldn't.
That wouldn't be
has
the preferred.
That bridge has a shelf life as it is. I mean, those culverts are only going to last so long.
Yeah.
So hopefully, there's one of the alternatives is to just replace the entire bridge. Otherwise, we're throwing $150,000 at something that's going to be $1 million at some point.
Yeah, and
Based on the Third Street Bridge estimates.
So actually, there are 3 replacement options, and then we've also asked them to consider simply extending the culverts, putting in a head wall, and doing some additional protections on the existing structure to see, where the costs came in. But the majority of the options are replacement options.
Mm-hmm. And I'm assuming all these options, you kind of alluded to it, Elisa, about are inclusive of some sidewalks or at least pedestrian crossing ability there too.
Yes.
That's always
yes.
a pretty sketchy one at the moment.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Also in the packet, it said, and this might have changed given what you said, but the staff also estimates reimbursements from FEMA and other funding sources of approximately $69,000 for expenses.
So that did include the $35,000 and then the ICRIMP, and then an additional $25,000 was identified in existing budget funding that we had available. There is also another funding alternative that I have not yet been able to determine if it's feasible, but FTA does have a disaster assistance program, and I was actually at a conference week before last, and the leader of the I guess we'd call it Region 10 FTA program was there, and she was one of the people we worked with on the Intermodal Transit Center. And she brought to my attention that she had just gotten a notice from Washington, D.C. that this disaster assistance was going to be available for public transit routes. And that is on our fixed route. We do have 3 stops near that bridge, and we also have dial-a-ride service several times a day on Mountain View, just, an eighth of a mile from that location, and then also at the group home that's located just a few hundred feet from the bridge. And so I'll be continuing to look at that as a resource. However, those programs can sometimes be slow, but if it's designated as disaster assistance, it might be an option that could be moving, we'd be able to move forward with. But we'll continue to look out for those. There might be also depending upon which type of alternative we go with, there might be some resources available through LTAC or ITD for a bridge replacement program.
Sure would be nice to fix the bridge the right way once instead of halfway and then again.
Refresh my memory on the 23 Mountain View project with the roundabout and all those. How far does that come up 6th Street?
That stops just short of that. So if the bridge were left at the width it was, you would have those sidewalks
Have
would
to
come
be
up and it
narrowed.
would neck down
Yeah,
at the
see,
bridge.
that seems like that's all got to be kind of on the same platform to make
Well,
that all work out.
The advantage is that JUB is the design consultant on the Mountain View project, and they are also working on this with us. And so they have a lot of the data in-house already on the survey and those types of things. And so none of that would have to be redone. And so we had some cost savings there, and they know exactly what the design's going to look like to dovetail the project together.
Good. That's.
I think we should
Yeah.
apply for every grant we can get, including the one right before us.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Anytime we have an opportunity to get a grant, we should apply for it. There'll be no opposition from me on that. No, I think we can move ahead with this on the consent as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation. That's the last item on today's agenda. What do you think,
Tragic.
Art? Shall we adjourn?
Tragic. Let's just sit
Okay,
here
let's-
anyway. Yep.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Zach.